Hi, and welcome to Coffee with Claire. You know, we have so much social media right now that it's a little overwhelming. And I know that as we are communicating with each other, so much is lost in emails and IMs and things like that. And what we find is that students, especially in our professional leadership program, are really smart and they're very good at communicating with technology. But one of the things we really want to focus on is communicating face to face. You know, being able to read that body language, being able to understand you know, that subtle eye shift or something like that. And so, you know, we want to learn to be a little bit more transparent with our communication. I love talking. Obviously, I have a talk show. And I find that if I hide behind my technology, a lot of my passion gets hidden. And so my challenge for you this week is to have a no digital hour in your home. Try just face-to-face contact rather than sitting and tweeting to each other or texting to each other, and see how that difference feels in your family. Let us know at Coffee with Claire on our blog, Cool Beans, and I look forward to hearing from you. As you know, we always have entrepreneurs, people who give back to the community, and people who like to have fun here at Coffee with Claire. And so today I have Paola Saibene, and she is an IT transformational and business innovator. So welcome.
Thank you.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you so much.
She's so smart, you guys. I can't believe that she's on the show. So, Paola, tell us a little bit about what you've done in the past and kind of your track, because her journey is very unique in how she started out versus where she has landed today.
Sure. So I started not in IT. I started in the humanities side of the house, and I had a career teaching at the university, literature and linguistics, and then I went on to psychology, and I got a master's in that, and then I stumbled upon IT. And that was 21 years ago. So I've been in IT for 21 years, and I've seen lots of changes around the world. The world of IT, my goodness, has been incredible. But I have been very blessed to be able to have used the psychology and the literature, the communications piece of it, blended in, which is what IT really needs in many areas.
Mm-hmm. Because IT a lot of times has a tendency to isolate people.
Yes.
Or technology, you know,
right,
and people kind of have a tendency to hide behind it or send an email versus, you know, walking across the way and talking to somebody. And I actually kind of miss that. I miss that person-to-person conversation.
Absolutely.
And it seems like that, you know, an email going back and forth can take 3 days, which, you know, a phone call could have taken care of in 5 minutes.
Well, it can also, depends on how you craft, and the etiquette goes out the window, right? Speed is everything today, speed and a transactional behavior. And we are missing in many areas just that human touch and that relationship and understanding people's points of view and having a discussion that you can't really have via email at the same time, the same way at least.
Right. And your background is so different than so many people that are in the IT field.
Yes.
How do you bridge that gap between what their experiences are and what your experiences are, and the holistic approach you're really trying to weave into the business world using IT?
Right. Well, I see IT very much as a mechanical, systematic field. Of course, there is innovation, there's creativity. You've got all of those pieces there. But for the most part, it is connecting dots and pretty straightforward, pretty mathematical. Anybody can follow a sequence of events and get to an end. Whereas the psychology and the literature is more about getting to understand people and how they see things and why they see things in a particular way. So blending it, one of the things that I was very happy to be a part of is creating help desks that were very different, radically different for very large organizations. When you put psychology and you put good communication in just a plain help desk for IT, you see tremendous results. we would have people sometimes call in and say, I'm having a bad day, but I just wanted to call the help desk.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Because we had infused
You
it
really were helping
with
them.
a lot of, right? In so many ways, yeah, just, well, I don't care if you fix it, but you guys are so nice, or so great to work with. Those little bits that just make the day for somebody else, it makes them more productive. It's a whole ecosystem of how we treat one another, whether it's a small enterprise or a large one. And IT is fantastic at enabling the future, the present, at being able to go and do things we couldn't before, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of dropping everything else. And that is where the holistic piece comes in.
So yeah, so talk a little bit about the holistic approach and what you guys are accomplishing in your newest business.
One of the branches that I have is called Ecosystem Consulting. And what it does is it goes to an enterprise. You can be brought in for a problem that sounds very much technology-based. It could be a large ERP that went wrong. It could be that the projects are not running well. And then when you end up finding out is that what is really falling apart behind that is the whole, what is called the governance in IT. And governance sounds, a big word, sounds like it's authority, administration, but it really is the processes, the mechanics, the policies. How are they getting from point A to point B and then C? And technology normally tends to replace a lot of those processes. The holistic approach brings it back saying, don't drop everything. Some things are important. Get to the core of the matter. What is the real issue? Cybersecurity, for instance, being a really important topic.
Oh, yeah.
So we specialized in sustainable ecosystem cybersecurity. What that means is that when you're trying to protect a company, an organization, government, we tend to throw people and tools at it and knowledge. Well, protection comes, it has to be part of every fiber of the organization. So you need to look at things like contract management or procurement. Do they know enough to understand that certain terms and conditions 5 years down the road are actually going to harm the cybersecurity efforts? Or your folks in HR, they're abiding by, they're complying with what is the framework, NIST framework, PII, information not being disclosed, but do they know the next steps? Have they been told the strategy and the alignment of the organization so they can prepare and kind of become more educated and see where the leakages can happen beyond just the tools?
And so does the company, is this a kind of paint a picture for us, is the company overall educating everybody on the same thing, or are they educating them on cybersecurity but in HR or in the different departments? How does that work? Because that seems like a pretty overwhelming task.
It can be. But there are a lot of common sense pieces that you can infuse throughout.
Okay.
Some of the pillars of that are like records management, and records management tends to be looked at as something purely from a technology standpoint, data related, and actually it's not. We have had records all of our history, and how you categorize those records and how you put value to those records and consider some important, some not important, that's a business thing. So what you'll find is that a lot of organizations have kind of passed that on to IT. And then IT doesn't know quite what to do with it, so it keeps most of it, or it assigns certain value based on what it thinks it means, and then stores it, and then archive it, and then the legal team comes in for e-discovery trying to figure out what happened with those pieces of data. Well, we go in and we say, you need to look at this strictly from a business perspective first. Why is this data important to you, and for how long? And that stirs up a whole conversation about the mission of the organization and the vision of the organization and who do we have working for us and why. Then the ecosystem begins to make its rounds. And from an ecosystem perspective, you need to have redundancies and resiliency. And you find that a lot of places have single points of failure, not just from an IT perspective, but a knowledge perspective. There is that one individual that has been in the company for 34 years and they hold the keys to so much. Well, that is dangerous. We love them, we want them to stay,
right?
But that does not create resiliency.
So when I was in business, we called those folks information hoarders. So where, it's like, if I've got all of this data, then it makes me really important, and there's no way anybody can get rid of me. So how do you reassure that person that, if I let go of this and train somebody else, it's actually a stronger leadership point of view or activity?
I think that's where the psychology comes in.
Okay.
So it is important to acknowledge that everybody has fears in the workplace. Being unemployed is no fun, and nobody wants to get there, so everybody has a certain amount of need to protect their territory. Good, bad, or indifferent, acknowledging that and creating a viable, truthful path for them to say, if I let go of this, I am getting that. And that piece that they're replacing, that they're getting, is significant not just to them, but is significant to the organization, and they have a bigger purpose. So many times they've been keeping that information not for the intent of hoarding, but nobody cared maybe about what they were doing. But 30 years later, now that's important, and now they want to document it, and the person is saying, well, why? Nobody has cared before, and yes, I've been the only one doing it. Giving them purpose from the point of view of, as a person, what do they contribute to the organization, and what does that organization give back to them, and have that folded into the ecosystem. And then again, back to trying to improve the processes, the transactions, the technology. It all has a component of the human factor.
So when you're working with organizations, do you do some kind of an inventory or any kind of a questionnaire to pinpoint where the areas of concentration need to be, or is it we just go in and talk with this department and this department and this department, then get everybody together?
There's a faster way that
Okay,
we have
good.
learned over the years. So the folks that are part of the team, we have run very large organizations, and you learn a few shortcuts along the way. One of the best ways to find out what's really wrong, there are 5 areas we focus on.
Okay.
What's working really well,
Okay.
what's working wrongly,
Okay.
what is confusing, what is there too much of, and then what is there too little of.
Okay.
Just questions that everybody can answer, whether they are the COO or they're the CIO or they're the VP of applications or the HR person. Everybody can answer those questions. When you get them all together in one room, most of the answers are all different.
Interesting.
Yes. And then the fun begins.
Oh.
Yes. So when the answers are different, the fun of alignment really begins, and you begin to clean up some of their misconceptions or intentions or knowledge, or all of a sudden the chief marketing officer didn't realize that operations was doing this, and IT had funding for that, and that the CEO didn't want that to begin with. So you rein all of that in, and you go after the declared problem, which most of the time is not really the problem. That's just the symptomatic aspect of it.
So this sounds so fun.
It is fun.
I mean, you get to get in and dig in and see what's going on and give them ways to make everybody much more functional and then productive and happy.
Yes, but the key is that we can be like a lot of other folks that are change agents. They go in, they propose a solution, or they implement a solution, and some people end up leaving as a result of it. So what we're going in for is saying, no, nobody has to leave, nobody should leave. There is a way to all get along, find meaning and renewed purpose, and together row in the same direction. And that's the trick. That is what takes a lot of experience from having done that before. And it takes patience, and yet having to deliver with speed, patience with the people, speed with the delivery. It takes a lot of compassion for the folks that are stuck in the middle.
And so from your experience, about how long does this transition take from the beginning when you kind of go in and do your due diligence to where it's really starting to run like a well-oiled engine?
No more than 90 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and the real changes can happen in 2 weeks.
And what in that 2 weeks, is that when they're doing all the discovery and figuring out
Yes.
what's...
Yes, because you're shifting their mindset all of a sudden. They're realizing some things that maybe it has been in front of them, but it required somebody to point it out. And to point it out and to connect the dots for them from an outsider's point of view, and also from a point of view of, yes, there is a way out, and here are your choices, your scenarios, hard decisions to make from a board or a C-level perspective, but making them with more accuracy, so that, I should say, with more data, so that they can be more accurate, and allowing them that, empowering them to make those choices and teaching them a method to repeat it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes. The idea is for us to teach them, because we have been on the other end being served by a lot of consultants. We know that sometimes they stay too long, and it gets very expensive, and that's not the desired path. So the idea is to go in very quickly, find the cracks, the real cracks, teach them how to get out of it, how to fix that, and then get out and move on to somebody else, which goes against the traditional model of consulting.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, and then they don't want to get another consultant because, well, you know, this guy
first one didn't help me.
$5,000, and you know, I never saw any results from it.
Yeah,
so. So how do you get over that? How do you get them convinced to you guys are different?
We are different, and also right now we are toying with some options of maybe we just don't charge for certain things unless they really like it, and then they can pay for it. But we come with some guarantees that we know others cannot offer, and with a viewpoint that tends to surprise them and is super helpful. It surprises them in a good way, because it's very senior folks that are involved and that have overcome many hurdles. So we know what we can deliver. And a lot of, we've been in their shoes. I think that is the big difference. A lot of the consultants that come in, they have studied how to do this. They have been around folks that have those pain points, but we have suffered those same pain points ourselves. So there's a different dialogue that goes on when that happens.
Right, because you're coming from a point of, I get this and I understand the pain that you're in. It's not just all theory.
Although everybody thinks they're unique. Yes.
What's that?
Everybody thinks they're unique.
Well, they are.
But the problems tend to be the same.
Yeah, well, we are human beings, so that's a common thread.
That's right.
So you and your business partner got together fairly recently to develop your newest endeavor. So tell us a little bit about how you guys got together and you know, how you're getting your word out.
And we have a bigger team. So we have a team of 5, actually a core team. And it was everybody that the world of the CIOs is becoming very different now from what it was 5 years ago. So CIOs are having a revolving door, just like the CEOs. The tenure of a CIO can be maybe 18 months to 24 months.
That's not very long.
CEO no more than 3 years, 2 years. And it's just the nature of how the business is right now. So a lot of folks have been thinking, well, should I go back to that again, to the rat race again, or should I do something differently from the outside? And we got together and we said, well, we have something valuable to give. We would love to give it. And if folks want to take our services, it would just be a treat. And that's why we started this in a different way from most other consulting companies. We have good networks with the folks that we know, so that's how we have started advertising the services. We're going to move on to digital marketing and move on to other venues to make sure that the word does get out properly.
So right now, how are you getting your word out?
Right now, it is through the folks that we have connected. We belong to some groups.
Okay. So networking.
We haven't exhausted that yet, but digital marketing is where we want to start with true digital marketing in January. And especially with one of the areas that we're trying to sell, which is how to have the outsourced and outsourcing entities overcome a lot of frictions that they have, and that friction may result in revenue loss, it may result in bad reputation for the company, projects not delivered on time, etc. So we're trying to really make sure that we are addressing pain points that are severe, and then deliver a little bit more than people have asked for in terms of cybersecurity and ecosystem solutions.
So what kind of tips do you have for our audience, or techniques for maximizing everything that you learn throughout life and applying it to our crazy digital world now, because like you said, it is 5 years, 3 years, it seems like that every time I turn around there's a new app, or there's something new that my computer does that it didn't do yesterday. You know, so I mean, how do we keep up and assimilate all this stuff?
It's a lot to keep up with. If your brain begins to get foggy and you can't really keep up with the information, then you are doing too much.
Okay.
So there's a big push always to multitask, and we all have been there trying to do 14 things at the same time. I am guilty of a couple of decades of working way too hard and not always intelligently. So you need to get to the position of realizing what is actually important. What do you want to achieve a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What do you want to be known for? What is the value you're bringing to the table? And work your way backwards and let go of some things that are just noise, that are not important. I was in a career counseling class with some high school students the other day, and everybody asks them, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I just came from the other side. What do you want to give?
Ooh, I like that.
Right? And why do you want to give it? And then to whom do you want to give it? And you should have seen their faces like, I haven't thought about that before. Because at the end of the day, what will be much more fulfilling is when you have given and when somebody has been affected, somebody being a person, an organization, a country. But that is what is rewarding. Throughout the world is the same stories over and over. That's fulfilling for most people. So drafting your path from that perspective backwards is much more valuable. So if you're a company that is trying to be on the competitive edge constantly, trying to market yourself, and you have awesome competitors, and you think that maybe you need to throw more money into IT or more money into marketing, pausing and thinking about what is it, not just that they're really, really good at, but what is the journey of the customer that will bring that loyalty, not the milestones, but the journey that will make them always come back to that company no matter what. And that tends to be always human. That is, why do you go to a restaurant where the food is not all that good, but the service is phenomenal?
Or you have a favorite waiter
That's
that
right.
knows your name.
That's right, and they treat you so well, and they mean it, right? It's not just rehearsed. You go back. So what if the burger wasn't all that good? You go back. But how many times did you stand in line for 2 hours for another restaurant where the food is phenomenal, but they've got an attitude?
Yeah.
You probably won't do that too many times. So it's simple. We know what we have to do, and we tend to just clutter the whole thing with what we hear, and we end up running in different directions that are not always necessary.
So declutter, concentrate on one thing at a time.
Yes, quickly, but one thing at a time. Still has to be quick.
Make the synapses there.
But one thing at a time, yeah.
Well, Paola, let our audience know how they can get a hold of you and your company, as well as maybe give them some of your sweet spots. What are some things that you guys really love doing?
We love it when we have impacted somebody's life at work, not just the company. Okay. So we get a kick out of somebody saying, wow, now I feel like I can really accomplish my work. That being whether it's an HR leader or a CEO or whoever they are, empowering them with that. A couple of companies that I run, Neutrino Peach Labs is one of them. The other one is YSAI, Y-SAI, and they are part of the whole holistic approach. But by far is we enjoy using the technology, using the processes just to make sure that we are touching people's lives in an indirect way, in a different way. It doesn't have to be that we invade their space and that we try to get too close to their pain points if it's an emotional thing happening at work. But we are surrounding them with enough tools with an approach that allows them to get out of that pit, out of that issue, to push the company forward, and they can do it again over and over. They won't need us anymore afterwards.
So you train them on how to replicate.
And without training, right? Just showing them, guiding them in such a way so that it's sustainable. Yeah.
So you have a couple of websites, so
Yes.
if you'll let us know how to find you.
Thank you. NeutrinoPeachLabs.com is one of them, and the other one is y-sai.com.
Well, thank you, Paola.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
having you.
Thank you.
In this series, we'll be learning about laughter yoga and the benefits of deep belly laughter that simulates the deep breathing when practicing yoga. It was developed in 1995 by Dr. Madan Kataria, a medical doctor in Dubai, India. Dr. Kataria discovered many modern scientific studies that described at length the proven benefits of laughter on the human mind and body. Ha, ha, ha. Ho. What laughter yoga is, it's all about bringing laughter to your body to help you breathe like yoga poses do. And so deep breathing has a lot of benefits, all right? Number one, of course, it gives us more oxygen in all of our cells. Number two, it releases endorphins. Does everyone know what endorphins are? What are endorphins? Yeah, they make you feel good. And there's also a lot of psychological benefits of laughter yoga because it allows you to release any kind of stress, which is really helpful in our really busy lifestyles. As you know, everybody's got 1,000,001 things going on, and so it's kind of nice just to get out of your head and into your heart. Laughter yoga is a unique concept where anyone can laugh for no reason without relying on humor, jokes, or comedy. Deep breath in. The concept of laughter yoga is based on scientific fact that the body cannot differentiate between fake and real laughter if done with willingness. One gets the same psychological and physiological benefits. The reason we call it laughter yoga is because it combines laughter exercises with yoga breathing. This brings more oxygen to the body and the brain, which makes you feel more energized and healthy. We initiate laughter as an exercise in a group, but with eye contact and childlike playfulness, it soon turns into real, contagious laughter. So we've been working a lot with laughter yoga, and Paola has volunteered to demonstrate a little bit of laughter yoga for you guys. As a reminder, laughter yoga is about laughing from your diaphragm, and it was actually invented back in 1995 by Dr. Madan Kataria, who was a medical doctor that realized that when his clients and patients would actually watch funny movies, their blood pressure would go down. And so we did a lot of research to figure out that, you know, this is a really good thing for our bodies, and our bodies don't know the difference between real laughter and fake laughter. He started out with just having like these little laughter yoga clubs that are all over India. And they just get together for 15 minutes purposefully to laugh. Whether the jokes are funny or not, they are there to laugh, not to judge. So that's what we're going to do today.
Sounds good.
Is we're going to show a little bit about how laughter yoga works. So do we need to be reminded on how to laugh? We've got 3 places that we laugh. We laugh here, we laugh here, and we laugh here. So if we laugh here, what does it sound like? And what does it sound like if we're laughing from here? Kind of like a yes. And then when we laugh from here, we kind of sound like right? So this is the one we really want because this is where we expel all of that excess air out of our bodies, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we are going to, you know, it's around the holidays and we want to stay in tip-top shape so we can, you know, drink that extra eggnog or whatever.
Of course.
So we're going to be in the gym, okay? And we are weightlifters, all right? And so there's a little bit of pantomime that we do with laughter yoga as well. And so if you were going to pick up some weights off the floor, Paola, what would that look like?
How heavy is it?
You tell me. You show us how heavy it is.
Well, I may just go around it for a while and see how heavy it is. Try to talk to it to see if it comes to me.
Okay.
That will
Go
not
for it.
work. That will not work.
If that doesn't work,
bend my knees.
you can. Well, you know. Now this is the thing. We could either have dumbbells. Or we could have a big thing.
Okay.
So which do you
they're
prefer?
midway already. Okay.
You know, I'm here to accommodate.
Thank you.
My job is to serve.
I'm picking it up then from the
All right,
rack.
so we're going to pick up. Okay. So you have what, about 2 pounds?
2.5.
Okay. So you've got your dumbbells, and we're gonna lift these dumbbells. But when we lift them, instead of groaning, when you hear all those big guys at the gym, we are going to laugh hysterically.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. There you go, folks. Paola.
Claire, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Claire.
So my first question is, we're all so busy. How do you balance fun with responsibility at work?
I try to have a good balance between family first and business second, but drive a thin line between having a professional life to support your personal life. So however you can wage that, I guess, is kind of the healthy balance anyway. So don't put too much into one or the other. So, yeah.
So what are some of the fun things or aspects about owning your own business?
It's very fulfilling, very stressful, but at the same token, it's very nice to be able to provide a service for someone that sometimes don't even know that they need it, and be able to lend that helping hand in a time of need, if someone needs a little pick-me-up kind of thing.
So how do you encourage others in their life to have fun?
You only live once, and you got to find something to enjoy and be passionate about, and try to remind people that don't take life too seriously, because you only get to do it once. So, yeah.
What advice could you give someone that might be struggling right now as to how to keep it fun?
I would say probably do your best to find the glass half full. Life is never going to be easy, and I think it's what you make of it. I think everybody has their fair share of adversity, and it's kind of how you handle it, I think, is the most important part. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it. So I think any situation has its good points and its bad points, and if you can find the good points, I think it's a very good starting point for finding some other good that maybe you might have been blinded by and being kind of on the negative side of things. So, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your business.
I work for a company called Janssen Adjusters International, and we are the world's largest firm of public insurance adjusters. And so what that means is, in short, if you have to file an insurance claim on your home or business, the insurance company is going to send out their representatives, and a public adjuster is a hired representative for the policyholder. So for the home or business owner that's never filed an insurance claim before, not only is it scary, but sometimes there's a lot of unknowns, and you're kind of worried, take a misstep. We can take those steps for you.
So if you had a happy dance or a happy stance, what would that look like?
Man, I don't know. I hope it's a good one. But you want me to make one? Yeah. A happy dance?
Or stance?
I don't know. Maybe a Captain America kind of thing. One of those. Yeah.
So your homework for this week is to be thinking about how you're communicating with your friends and family. I challenge you to have a no-device hour where you set your phones down and communicate face-to-face, or even better, go next door and visit your neighbor rather than calling them or texting them or something like that. Report back to us on Coffee with Claire on Cool Beans, and also remember to follow the fun. See you next time.